You're listening to Data Center Therapy. Please take a number, and an engineer will be right with you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Data Center Therapy, a podcast from Ivoxy Consulting that talks all things IT with a healthy dose of empathy. I'm your host, Matt. Why are we never prepared? Yeti. And alongside me is my co-host, Mr. Matt Casalino.
Ah, crap, I'm supposed to have a tagline for this, huh?
Yeah, sorry, and this is going to be a theme here. Each episode, we try at least to dive in to the wide range of technologies that make up this beautiful sandbox called IT that we all play in. We share our hopes and dreams, opinions both positive and critical, all with a touch of empathy, because at the end of the day, we all need a seat on that couch, hand in glove, soap in bottle, warm in water. Right?
Totally.
Quick reminder.
Yeah.
So to that point, we are loaded up on virtual events, actually, as we've all shifted to mostly working from home, and hopefully if you're not, you're still remaining extra safe and extra cautious. But we've spun up some virtual events. So definitely check out the blog page and the episode description for additional details on this. But we've got a couple of cool things coming up. One of them being Horizon Virtual Desktop Infrastructure Deep Dive Series. So we've got 3 levels. We've got 100, 200, and 300 level virtual workshops led by our very own Alec Taylor throughout the next month. They're 3-hour virtual workshops. So definitely check out our blog site for that information on that. And another thing that we've started to do is Casual Fridays. Now, we've all talked about my disdain for the term virtual happy hour, because happy hour, I don't know about you, Matt, but none of that, the thoughts that go in my head are not images of being chained to my desk in front of a webcam and a microphone when it comes to...
I'm stuck at my desk just a little bit longer now, yeah.
Right.
Kind of thing, yeah.
Even if there's a beverage in the vicinity.
Mm-hmm.
But so we've compromised and we've settled on Casual Fridays. So we're going to have laid-back conversation with y'all every Friday. If you want to join us, you can kind of pick our brains. We can talk about challenges. It doesn't even need to be IT topical if you want to go there, right? We can we can hang out, maybe touch on the stuff that we have in common and go from there. And if you've had something that you've been wanting to ask or bounce off someone, hit us. We're down for it. With that being said, Matt, how are you today?
Pretty good. Got a couple of surprise WebExes lined up for the rest of the day.
Really?
Holy cow, it's sunny out. So looking forward to taking our daily walk, you know?
At least we've got the window. I've got a window in my office. It looks like you do too.
So do I. Yeah.
Which is a blessing. I remember my last job before Ivoxy, we had the IT room. Mm-hmm. It was badged access, right? So you couldn't, you needed, and there was not a window in the place. So it was cube land inside a windowless sub room.
Mm-hmm. Those are crazy days when you spend the better part of a day in the data center and you walk out and it's just so bright, so warm. In
the morning, it's great, right? Because I got a nice early start. I would get there sometimes 5:30, 6 o'clock. I put my little warm lamp on. I sit there. I get my breakfast, my coffee, and nobody's in, and it's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. Around lunchtime, if you head down to the break room and you get a glimpse of the sun, you're hating life.
Your eyes are all adjusted to the inside, and you go out. Holy cow! I'm blind, and you come back in from getting some lunch, and you can't see anything. Oh yeah, I remember those days.
Kind of give you an idea of what they think of IT. That they, all these offices of our customers, right, that we go in, they're renovating, and it's the open floor plan. And these offices, especially downtown Seattle, are gorgeous. Mm-hmm. And it's a little bit of a far cry from what I'm used to being in IT. So
yeah, I really do like having an actual window. Years ago, when I was in Port Angeles working at the hospital, I had a window right on the bluff looking out over the Straits of Juan de Fuca. It was spectacular. On the beautiful...
I heard you had some productivity issues there. That all of a sudden makes sense.
Yeah. On the sunniest, clearest days, I could actually see Baker from lean over that way and take a look out there. You could see Baker. That was super cool.
I can see my neighbor's rose bushes.
Yep, I got Rattlesnake Ledge out the window, so there's that.
I have no complaints, and neither do you out there in North Bend, for sure.
Nope.
For sure. Okay, so it's going to be, in kind of sticking with our Casual Friday theme. It's not Friday, but Maybe when you're listening to this, it is. But we're going to be a little more casual topically today. Got one main thing really that we want to focus on, and then we can kind of get into the errata, the miscellaneous stuff too. A couple things I've been doing. Believe it or not, Matt, I got real pissed off at Apple, specifically to HomeKit, a couple of
Holy
weeks
cow.
ago, and said, "That's it. This is going to be different." So we'll dive into that.
Okay.
But with we have some releases, and we're gonna spend a few episodes chunking through when it relates to VMware and their product line. One of them being vSphere 7. We're not going there right now. We will be soon. But one top line item that's right in that wheelhouse is NSX-T, not the Acura 3.0. Yeah, I heard you got a new NSX-T, Matt.
I was super proud of myself when I realized that was a car, the NSX-T Acura.
We've
NSX-T
shifted into
from
dad joke territory.
Oh yeah, it was bad. So yeah, you're absolutely right. We aren't quite ready to deploy. We aren't quite ready to, at least I'm not, for my lab and everything that I'm running, quite ready to get there yet. But as I'm skimming through the release notes for it, I saw a couple of things that I was super excited about. The first one, I've been griping about this since I first tried to set it up, was there isn't a mechanism on the 2.0 releases for native AD auth for user accounts, for administrator accounts.
So you say native.
Right.
There is a way, though?
Right. So you have to deploy the unified manager, the
just another shim in between.
It's another OVA.
Oof.
All of the VDI stuff uses it. So when you've got like 6 different VDI applications, you use this to log in. It does that same thing. It does the AD connectivity and then federates the login account. So the one that I'm super excited about is native Active Directory based authentication via LDAP, because now I can do my just join the server to Active Directory and grab that group and start allowing authentication. I thought that was super cool.
It seems like they even if they're not getting away from the OVA, deploying OVA, they seem to be consolidating some of those roles, like not to get away from NSX too far, but like the life cycle management, where they're kind of combining these miscellaneous bits and pieces into a supportable and solid format. And I know a lot of them are using containers now, and but that's good to see, and to bring that in from the relative kludge/hack that it was, very welcome change.
Yep, that's the one I'm looking for. I did have a fun licensing issue that I think this will kind of solve. I had a customer with VDI per socket VDI licenses and concurrent CPUs. So I'm now seeing that we're going to do some federation. Haven't played with it, but the ability to string together a couple of NSX environments and federate them, kind of like you would with, for example, your vCenter that manages your VDI environment and your
kind of like
vCenter,
a linked mode.
Yeah, that manages the compute.
Which is interesting when you're talking in networking terms.
Right? I mean, if you aren't going to string them all together, there's some stuff going on there.
So this is a hop from 2.4, right?
This is 2.5 was the latest.
2.5.
Yeah, 2.0 code.
Now, Matt, given that you've lived and still live somewhat in the networking world a lot more than I do, if I'm running a 2.4 or a 2.5 deployment, am I biting my nails thinking about this? Is this like a vSphere 6.7 to 7.0 or a 6.5 to 6.7 upgrade, or is this holy crap, be really careful, and not that anything should be just shotgunned cowboyed, right? I'm not talking about upgrades ever doing that, but from a vSphere standpoint, I'll say this, from a vCenter standpoint, a lot of times a vCenter is not a very, I will say, workflow critical component where you could shut your vCenter down and things can just go on operating for the most part. Your VMs aren't going to stop. Do you have to take a much more cautious approach with NSX? And I mean, not specifically to 3.0, but overall with upgrades?
Yes. I mean, I would. Whenever I'm going to do an upgrade on something like this, there's a couple of things, for example, for NSX that make me a little more cautious. And the first one is the fact that we're on 2.0, 3.0 versioning right now, right? So it's still fairly
yes.
new. So we're still waiting to, bake that, let it grow up a
And
little.
we're not. Are we seeing U1, U2, U3 conventions with NSX, or like we do with vSphere? Or is it different?
Um, no, I think it was 2.2, 2.3 at the beginning of last
Yeah.
year, and
But
now we're
it
up
doesn't
to
seem like you're seeing the update roll up one like they do with the
no,
vSphere world.
not the same kind of like patches and stuff that we'd see there.
Right.
No. So I'd be cautious with updating NSX and make sure you read the release notes and make sure you go through the steps and make sure you do it the way they recommend because it is so like if you get it deployed and you're running it everywhere, it is critical to the connectivity for your environment. Um, that being said, the NSX managers, the three of them that you deploy in a cluster, are wholly independent of the data plane.
So similar to a vCenter at that point, you could shut
Right.
those guys down. You wouldn't be able to configure, but
Right.
it doesn't stop traffic flow.
Right.
So similar to ESXi upgrades, you would put the host into maintenance mode before you update the NSX components on said host.
Right. Right.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
There is the NVDS is being deprecated. So I think what I read between the lines there was, hey, we need to move to T. T needs to be how we do this. We don't have this solved, integrated, whatever yet. So we're just going to roll our own virtual switching and manage it out of the ecosystem. And when eventually we get that VDS stuff caught up, then we'll roll it back in. That's what I'm reading between the lines there to see what that is. So there will be a migration from the VDS to just a regular distributed switching. But we've been doing that with virtual switches and DV switches, and that's not been horrible. That's not been hard to do.
I finally moved both my home lab and our shared data center, Matt, into the DV switch realm.
Yeah.
And to tell you the level of confidence that I finally have with it, I've got at home, in addition to a server with 2 NICs, I have 3 of those NUCs which have a single network port. There is no. In fact, at one time, tinkering around with it, I leveraged a USB Ethernet dongle to get a second port for a fallback should the VDS, give me trouble. And I've completely went away from that now, and I'm full DV switch across the board. The reason why I eventually went there was with linked mode, I could link my vCenters in my 2 different data centers, and I could do shared nothing vMotion, right? I could basically what you're doing if you have a second, you can do that if you have a second data center or a third data center and vMotion your stuff, or if you're using VMware Cloud on AWS or Azure, is essentially what you need to do there too, because that's really nothing more than a colo at Azure,
at that
at
point,
Azure data center,
yeah,
right? But you need to have, you cannot. I don't know, cross vCenter vMotion is the term that VMware uses. You cannot do that if one side has a standard vSwitch and one side has a VDS.
Yeah.
They have to both be VDS.
There's a lot of checks that they do before they let you click that button and try to do it. Yeah.
Exactly. But I mean it works fantastic, and I got a nice fat internet connection at home that I love to use whenever possible.
Lately I've been seeing really bad uploads out of the house. I get maybe 2, maybe 3 megasecond.
That is bad. I mean, you normally only are what? You're probably provisioned with what, 20?
I assume that's what. I haven't looked. I don't actually try to push anything, but anytime I do, so like the colo, right? The data center is in actual colo space, so I download the OVA here and then go to deploy it, and it's just abysmally slow.
Yeah.
That's what I see the most.
Well, we talked about it before, and I think it's borne out that the internet has withstood the increase in traffic of everybody working from home, and I'm sure depending on your area, it depends on where you live, right? But overall, I've seen really nothing. But I would say DOCSIS cable customers, it very much depends on your locality, who's on your hub. If you have a lot of high traffic neighbors, you're going to feel it maybe more than Joe down the road who might be on a different hub.
Everyone's at home.
More local.
Everyone's streaming. Everyone's doing their Twitch TV thing. Everyone's trying to push more now. You can definitely feel it, but it's working.
Exactly. Upload's usually not a problem, and if you're pushing ISO images over the WAN, sure.
Doesn't everyone do that? I mean,
doesn't everyone use torrents to to seed Linux
Yeah.
ISOs.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. Uh,
Yeah, so with NSX-T, obviously it's let's talk about it, let's have a conversation, don't just jump in with both feet. It's definitely a planning thing, but um, it seems like there's an awful lot more focus on security as well. With every release, that seems to be more and more of
yeah,
a headline topic.
yeah, like federated everything, right? So now you can push consistent security policy, all that kind of stuff. I'm excited to see what the security dashboard thing that they called out is and what that looks like. One of my gripes, kind of overall, has been a lack of visibility as to what NSX is doing. So I'd love to see something like the current tasks in progress list down at the bottom of vCenter. Because when you click, hey, deploy NSX to my cluster, it just magically goes off into the ether and starts doing stuff. And I don't get that reassuring little slider bar of this is completing, you know?
Hmm.
So that kind of stuff.
Do you see the load balancing functionality of NSX becoming a headlining? Not that it's amateur or anything, but do you see that becoming more and more an adopted use case for NSX?
Well, Yeti, I'm glad you asked. Um, kind of. I think
You make
it's.
it sound like I was prompted for that. I wasn't.
No, you weren't. But I was
That was
actually just kind
organic.
of rolling around this thought I've had in the back of my head. We've been doing a project where we're doing an assessment, NSX assessment for a customer, and a couple of the things that came up was how to use the transport zones and the different sites and where to use a tier 1 router, when to use a tier 1 router, and what we can do with that. The load balancer piece actually is something that would provide a whole lot of functionality for a lot of customers, a lot of portability. So the recommendation we came to, the design we came to was it would probably be a good idea to build your couple of segments that you need for your app and bolt them all onto a single tier 1 router instance, and then that whole piece is portable across data centers from site to site. How do you serve services out of there? How do you make that work? A load balancer is the perfect thing to put in front of that because it can go with the tier 1 interface. So not necessarily I've got these services and I need 700 of them available, but more of a I have these services and I need them to look the same to everyone I present them to. So I can stick them behind that consistent load balancer, and now when it moves, it's got all the same stuff built with it. Is that
That's, I mean, it's fantastic. And it's something that I think not a lot, but some people look at load balancing as a nice to have thing. Or boy, I have one server. What do I need to load balance? It's, for me at least, and I think this translates to small home lab user to enterprise as well, is with the focus on security, everything needs to be SSL now.
Exactly.
And when one of the things, especially from a home lab standpoint, is SSL certificates, right? And if you might only have a single IP address or limited IP space, you and a limited budget, maybe you're using Let's Encrypt certificates. That's one of the things that a lot of people are using for dev test, especially where I don't want to buy a ton of certs. Well, I can't have 10 VMs with that need certificates all exposed to the internet, all on port 80, which Let's Encrypt needs.
Right.
Well, one method, right? You can use DNS.
Right.
But I have found the load balancer, quote unquote, to be as useful as an SSL common termination point as it is actually balancing load. It's not really load.
That's exactly what I use it for too, and that's the other thing is you've got it kind of going to that portability piece, right? You've got these apps, these services, these whatevers that are being developed or being deployed or being purchased or pick something, and they all look slightly different. So being able to put them behind, in this instance, a load balancer or something to do SSL termination on, to redirect some traffic this way and some traffic that way, and provide a single common user experience to your end users is what I see the biggest benefit out of them being. It's kind of changed from that. here's my F5 load balancer back in the day, and it's this big monolithic thing, to
Right.
now just run everything through them, even if it's as simple as a Nginx um, reverse proxy type thing.
And it's funny you say that, Matt,
Mhm.
because that's exactly what I have at home. And it's actually, once you get it set up, it's very easy. Makes a lot of sense. It's a very lightweight point. I always worry about choke points potentially being just this. There's this one thing that I'm ramming all my traffic through, and that kind of makes me a little nervous. But the only thing I had issues with are certain web apps that leverage WebSockets.
Mhm.
You have to do a little extra config, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it can be a little troublesome. Some of the Unify interface stuff uses WebSockets,
Mhm.
just in a web GUI that can be problematic. But overall, I've had a lot of success with it, and now all my stuff is external
It's
that I
got a
want to be
nice
externally
green
accessible.
checkbox, and it's all SSL encrypted, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awful nice, and it's for me, it's free.
Mhm.
I mean, that's great, right?
Yeah.
Can't do better than that.
Can't beat that.
So can I? Okay, you want to talk about one more thing there before we
Sure.
before we move on to my rant and rave?
Rant and rave, yeah. Well, which one? The Trello bit?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got a shared note that we're looking at, and we just update random crap. I'm trying to figure out how to use that. We've got this wonderful PMO team now that does project management and stuff for us,
We do.
but we need some more tooling, I think. I got the better half set up with this. We've got some projects, some boards that we're using for like home projects. And I like that it's fairly simple. I think that's kind of a common thing. Is this is simple and it doesn't have a lot that it does, or it doesn't have a lot that it needs to do, I should say. Uh, I think it's going to be beneficial because it gives us a place to add all of the random tasks that we need to add, or add all of the random things that get.
I think you're bearing the lead, Matt, if I may interrupt.
Oh, yes.
What is Trello?
Oh, Trello is a. Sorry. Whoosh.
Boom! There he goes.
Here we go. We're off to the races. Trello is I believe I'm going to pronounce it correctly, a Kanban board, a task board, a place to collect all of the individual items that need to be done and projects that need to be worked on. You may have seen something similar at various offices where they've got the giant whiteboard broken up into a couple of sections, and they've got post-it notes.
Is it Scrum?
Scrum,
is that right?
Okay.
I used to watch Silicon Valley.
I think
Is
that
it that?
I think
sticky?
that can use it, and as a virtualized version of doing that.
Okay.
Like everyone gets together in the morning. I've never worked in a dev shop.
Are we using this, Matt? Am I behind? Did I miss some?
No,
memo?
I just signed up for it, and we started using it in house.
Who did?
Literally
You
in house.
and-
Me and home. Devin and I. Yes.
Your house.
My house.
Not the Ivoxy house.
No.
Boy.
So it's projects like, hey, we're working on this headboard. We need to, do these things for the headboard, and then now this project is in progress, and we've
Sounds
got these
romantic.
other things. Yeah, right. All of
Hey,
that
you need to buy me
logistics for the house.
All of a
right?
sudden, where did get me flowers? Where'd that note come up from?
Honeydew list. Point two.
Okay.
2.0.
Okay. I'm going to be leery about any kind of invite I get from you for Trello, and all of a sudden I'll be tasked with who knows.
Yeti's going to bring us dinner this Thursday, so wait for that to show up.
It's on the board. Well, interesting. Okay. It is one of those things. It was funny. I was having a conversation with my wife and my mother-in-law yesterday, and we were talking about this kind of, not to go too deep off topic, but the use of time and the limitation of time. And there's only 24 hours a day, and you're only awake for a subset of them, and you're only this and that. And we were talking about Chip and Joanna Gaines. Do you know these two, Matt?
I don't know that I do.
They have I don't know. I'm not going to accurately say exactly all they have, but they at least have a show, The Fixer. I think Fixer Upper on HGTV or something.
Then
and
I
they're a famous
definitely
couple.
don't.
They live in Waco, Texas, and they basically what they do is they go in with a family and they say we have this much budget and they to buy and renovate, and it's always a limited amount, right? So they buy these properties that are just terrible, and then they go in and renovate, and it blows your mind, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And apparently they've got like 5 kids, and they've got all these properties and all these companies, and I'm thinking,
how do you manage all of that?
I feel overwhelmed and I've got nothing going on,
I've got
especially
one house and
relative.
one dog and a wife, right?
Right. How do you make the most out of every minute? Because you have to if you've got that many balls in the air. You just and even if you're delegating, let's say you've got this massive empire, you have to be able to clearly communicate with those you're delegating to and
Mm-hmm.
trust that they're taking care of it, or
Mm-hmm.
you being puppet master will just burn all. I don't know how it's possible to be that efficient and
Neither do
successful.
I don't know.
So, so I appreciate your you exploring in that direction.
I guess I showed you that grocery app or whatever for
Yeah.
inventory. So it kind of was born out of that because I said, hey, check this out because we actually have a pantry with stuff in it, and we'll go to Costco and holy crap,
You and I ran into the same point though on like where we were at. Like, okay, come on.
there's too much happening in here. That's what it was. Is that the other app had a project to-do list type thing, and I said, how about let's not spend a lot of time with that. Let's spend some time with this because this is going to be a better real world use type tool, not
Yeah.
not this home dev thing.
Well, the thing too about the grocery is I don't really care about the recipes and tying ingredients to that and pulling them out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have found, especially with the quarantine, but I'm cooking more. I love to cook.
Mm-hmm.
I have loved to cook for years. I am cooking more because of my diet and trying to lose weight in terms of making meals that I can pick at all week for lunch and dinner that I can that are calorie friendly, I should say. And so because I'm cooking so often, I know what I have. So the idea of I want to make cookies, let me deduct this much flour from my virtual pantry. That doesn't gain me a whole lot. We just use I used to use Wunderlist, which was
Mm-hmm.
a great simple task list app, and you could share it. And of course, Microsoft bought that, stuck it in a drawer, ruined it. Came out with their own version called To Do, Microsoft To Do.
Mm-hmm.
That's mostly the same, and so we just have a shared grocery list. And when we want something, and we're out of it, put it on, grab your phone, put it on the list, and then next person to run to the grocery store pulls that up and everything that we've
So
collected.
yeah, we've been using Google Keep for that.
Yeah.
What it doesn't, what I don't see happening with those kind of tools is like a stock inventory. So there's no more peanut butter on the shelf. So I open the cupboard and say, well, what do we need to do? What do we need to get when we go to the store? And I don't see peanut butter, and it doesn't trigger in my head because I'm not
Yep.
craving a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, so it never gets added to the list.
Yep.
Right? So
And I guess it's how you approach your own pantry. Do
Mhm.
you treat it as a stock
Mhm.
or short term? This is what
Mhm.
and I'm more probably of the latter, to be
Right.
honest with you. It's tough because so much of what I cook with is produce.
Yeah.
And you can't stock produce.
No.
I mean, maybe some potatoes and onions for a little while, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, we've been doing a whole lot of rice and beans. That's actually fairly easy and fairly delicious. We had leftover steak. What do you want to have for dinner tonight? How about we cut up some steak and some rice and beans? Bam, we're done. It's pretty good.
Man, the steak and peppers and onions we had at that
Mhm.
camping trip
Mhm.
last summer was
That was
outrageously
delicious.
good.
Delicious,
Woof.
delicious.
Yeah. All right, so we have to cut it short here. So only got a couple more minutes.
Uh-oh.
We're gonna save the home automation for another episode because I know it's got we've got a lot to go into with that, and I want to do it justice.
Okay.
Let's talk about off topic here, but we have touched on TV. I want to pick your brain for the next 5 minutes
Oh, God.
and take your temperature on, in my opinion, what is the dichotomy between two heavy hitter AAA shows:
Okay.
Westworld
Mm-hmm.
season 3
Mm-hmm.
and Better Call Saul season 5. Are you watching? You're watching them both, right?
No.
Either.
Neither.
Wonderful.
I got I got through Westworld season 2 episode 2
Yep. Okay.
and then kind of stopped, and
So
I got
I'm
through I
going-
think maybe the first season of Better Call Saul.
Oh wow. Okay. So and trying not to spoil really, and I don't want to play spoiler here, but I can't be sure that I'm not going to kind of tip off. But I think Breaking Bad is probably the best show of all time, or certainly in the top 3. It's got to be in the conversation. I think it's wonderful. It really doesn't hit a low point. Just great show. Better Call Saul has been its own thing, slow burn show, way different feel, but now we are full Breaking Bad in this
Oh, yeah?
5th season. And what I'm looking forward to, because we're not used to watching week to week anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to watching the whole show again, binge style, because
Mm-hmm.
things stick with me better. Week to week, I've got so much going on where even with the previously on, I have trouble tying the threads together, maybe
Mm-hmm.
keeping it in my head, right? Um,
You need to
10,
watch those
15
episodes
years
right
ago,
there. Yeah.
yeah, 10, 15 years ago, 24 was on, and the 6 days between episodes, I would think about what the heck happened, talk about it with my friends. So it was always on my mind. But now there's 18 million shows, and I just whatever. Let me contrast that with what I think. When I watched Westworld season one, I thought, okay, this HBO's got it. This is going to be the next show.
Yeah.
And then they got caught up in their hubris with season two and said, we got pissed off because Reddit spoiled our twist. So we're going to make it impossible to anybody to understand. And they accomplished that. And then because everything's so tribal, you've got the people saying, oh, you're just a hater. It was great, because they had so much invested in the first season. Of course, they can't admit that their favorite show may have taken a stumble. And now the season three,
Mm-hmm.
it's not even the same show.
It's totally
It's not,
different.
it's totally different. It's
Okay.
set in futuristic LA or wherever they are. Dolores is a Deus Ex Machina bot again, even to the nth degree,
Okay.
which completely takes me. I don't care about her. I don't like. I am so disappointed that a show that I had so much hope for is now this just. It's Blade Runner meets Terminator meets whatever. It's a meme generator too, because everything's got to be little short little sound bites to be cool. And I'm very disappointed in it. I'm wondering if anybody out there agrees with me, disagrees with me. Go ahead and throw tomatoes at me for all
Throw
I care.
tomatoes at you. Well, you know what? I haven't. I struggle with TV kind of in general. I
Your
want
Plex
to,
says otherwise, by the way.
but if you look at what I watch on there, it's not TV shows, it's movies or like 2 or 3 episodes of Stargate. Right?
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah.
watch, and it's in the background kind of a thing. So it's really hard to get stuck on one of these things, and for me at least, to get caught up into one of these things and invested in it that much. I started watching Barry, and it was the same kind of thing. This is great, first couple of episodes, and then
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having it. To stick with it. It better grab me.
right.
And I do think there's a lot of content out there that lives up to that. My wife and I just started watching Broadchurch.
Okay.
It's a 3-season British show starting in, I think, 13, 14, and 15 it ran, or whatever. It started in 2013. I can't remember her name. I'm so sorry, but she's a British actress was in Bodyguard,
Mhm.
or not Bodyguard, The Night Manager, which was an amazing British miniseries. Anyway, she's fantastic. The guy who plays Barty Crouch Jr. in Harry Potter, who's
Okay.
apparently like an all-time great British actor. Also, he is in it. It's a fantastic show. So we've been tied into that. But overall, we like to sit down and watch an episode 2 or 3 to close our night out.
Yeah.
Typically, but we're big TV fans for sure, and thankfully, there's still just a ton of content that we watch. But yeah, Westworld's one of them that I let my wife kind of check me. Like,
Yeah.
tell me if I'm being a jerk. Tell me if I'm being too critical here. And when she turns around and says, "No, what the heck is this?" Something's off. So Westworld, unfortunately, I mean, of course, it's only 8 episodes this season too, because we have to wait 24 months
Got it,
for 8
right.
hours of
There's that.
content.
There's that. Yeah.
And people are like, "Oh, but you want filler?" Well, I mean,
the one I want to go watch, and I haven't watched season 2 yet. I finished all of season 1, and I actually enjoyed it and thought it was kind of fun. Was Altered Carbon.
I heard there was hype for it,
Mhm.
and then I didn't hear much after that. So I've heard good, and I've heard like
Yeah.
But I mean, I think if you like The Expanse and things like that, is probably right up your alley.
Yeah, I kind of like the sci-fi thing. On the
I've been
trade-off,
starting to
I
watch
kind of
stuff just to enjoy the HDR and the OLED. Like I'm like, what can I watch that's going to look gorgeous?
Right. I will say, we did watch the very first episode of Tiger King, and we both kind of
Oh.
sat there with our jaws on the floor going, WTF. And neither of us have brought it up again.
I am blissfully unaware. I mean, unfamiliar, I'll say. I've seen the memes and this and that. It means nothing to me, and it's one of those pop culture moments that I think I'm going to proudly sidestep. Like, I've never heard Gangnam Style, and I'm so proud of that fact.
Yeah.
I've seen the dummies doing the old, it looks like a rodeo kind of thing with the hands and the,
Yeah.
but I mean, outside of knowing that that's somehow related to Gangnam Style, I don't know what else that is. It's a moment of pride for me. I'll take it. Call me crusty,
Crotchety
guilty.
old man. There you go.
Guilty.
Yeah.
Fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
go
right.
ahead.
I'm gonna have to draw the
We're
line here
done.
because
We're done. No more.
I have a call coming up. You won't, hard to believe, a WebEx call coming up.
All right.
Yes. Matt, thank you for joining. This is fun
Thank
as
you
always.
yourself,
I hope
Yeti.
you get to enjoy some of that sunshine out there.
Planning on
Don't
that.
forget to check out the episode description for links to our Horizon VDI virtual workshops as well as our Casual Fridays. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. There might be some surprises on there for you that you wouldn't be expecting. If you haven't already subscribed to us, hit us on iTunes or Spotify or Overcast or Google Play. And then send in questions, throw tomatoes. If you've got some beef with my opinions, I'm cool with that. I'll own it. Email us at podcast@ivoxy.com. We would love to hear from you. For Mr. Cozzolino and Mr. Yeti, thank you very much for listening to Data Center Therapy. Have a great day, everyone. Stay safe.